As the death toll mounts and the bombardment of the Gaza Strip continues, with humanitarian aid trickling in, we speak to Hamas about its thinking ahead of October the 7th and where it sees this bloody conflict heading. Dr. Khaled Qaddumi joins me now. Dr. Qaddumi, welcome to the program. Thank you for giving us your time tonight. 9,000 Palestinians killed, among them 3,760 children. We have seen the graphic pictures of blood and horror. When Hamas launched its attack on October the 7th, reportedly killing more than 1,400 people and taking others hostage, did you anticipate that the response would be this deadly?
Thank you for having me, and let me start with a high gratitude to the South African government for their stance supporting continuously the Palestinian cause, and in particular the stance of the foreign minister lately protesting against the Israeli atrocities and confirming the steadfast position of South Africa behind the Palestinian issue and the Palestinian people. Well, this is not a new thing. We have been suffering.
All right, our signal seems to have been frozen there. We'll hopefully try to re-establish. If you're just joining us, we're talking to a spokesperson for Hamas, Dr. Khaled Qaddumi, just asking him there whether there was an anticipation by Hamas in the prequel to the October 7th attacks that this would be the response from the Israeli authorities. So we'll continue to try and reach him. As the death toll mounts and the bombardment of the Gaza Strip continues with humanitarian aid just trickling in, we're talking to Hamas about its thinking ahead of October the 7th and where it sees this bloody conflict heading. Dr. Khaled Qaddumi, it's nice to have you back with us again. Let's start with that first question. 9,000 Palestinians killed, among them 3,760 children. We've seen the graphic pictures of blood and horror. When you launched your attack on October the 7th, reportedly killing more than 1,400 people and taking others hostage, did you anticipate that the response was going to be this deadly?
Before the Al-Aqsa flood, we were having 100,000 martyrs killed brutally by the Israeli invasions since 1967. And then this is a continuous crime where it has been witnessed by the international community. Unfortunately, the international community, the United Nations, which they are continuously giving their own statements of condemnation to those atrocities and the war crimes being perpetrated by Israel, they fail to push Israel to abide by the international law and the international will to move and finish the occupation. Hence, we were compelled, we were going to this track to defend ourselves. You know that Israelis are occupation forces. We are living under occupation. So it is implicit, according to the international law, that we have the right, when the whole so-called peaceful resolutions, political resolution fail, to go for the defense of ourselves against those occupation forces.
All right. So instead
yes, you are right. You are right. 18 tons of explosions have been also, many of it has been extended to Israel by America, by UK, by Germany, by France, to kill our children. Can you tell me any rationality out of that?
So as you're saying, Dr. Qaddumi, in contrast to the way this is being framed, you were not the attacker here, but you were responding to what has been, a historical series of attacks. That's what you've just shared with us now. Then let's go to the second part of the question. Did you anticipate that this was going to happen, that the response was going to be so deadly?
Yes, my dear. This is what I was saying. This is nothing new. Our children were dying in their bedroom before Al-Aqsa flood because of the siege which has lasted for the 17 years. The cancer patients have no access to the treatment. The ICU is paralyzed because there is no electricity for the energy supply for the hospitals. I mean, this is something happening continuously. When we are in the path of the independence, the path to defend ourselves. Yes, we are very sorry and feel the deepest sense of pain for the killing of our children by those brutal enemies, criminal enemies. But unfortunately, it looks that this is the only way we have today, because the international community simply is not able to extend justice for our bereaved people, for our people who is being raising their voices for decades without any response.
Are you suggesting, Dr. Qaddumi, that this is a sacrifice that Palestinian women, children, and men have to make?
Unfortunately, this is the international community to decide. Today, if they come and they stop those atrocities with the so-called peaceful means, diplomatic maneuvers, you know that it's been now it's about 27 days, and still the United Nations, with a consensus of 120 votes positive to open the Rafah gate, they still fail to allow the humanitarian aids and the medical support trucks who are in thousands waiting behind the Rafah gate to get in, simply because they are paralyzed. Hence, what else we have? Should we continue with the slavery hood? We cannot tolerate that. You in South Africa can understand this thing more than us. How the struggle against the colonials, against the apartheid, should be the track of the sacrifice. Unfortunately, I am sending through you the political track is an option, but it is an obsolete option because it looks that it has no fruit, it has no results.
Right.
More sufferings from our people, and we are pushed, unfortunately, to this sacrifice, struggling track. And I tell you that our people today, they are steadfast. Yesterday, day before yesterday's in Jabalia camp, there was a massacre in the Indonesian hospital, and in the Shifa hospital, they killed hundreds over there. Most of them, they were children, and the Israelis threw around about 6 tons of explosive over innocents and civilians. They claimed that there are Hamas fighters over there. Hamas fighters, they are continuously launching rockets against them from somewhere else. Hamas fighters, they are engaging with them in the field, in so-called the
All right,
the
so let me come
offensive.
to that part then. You know, Israel's narrative is that you use your own people as human shields. You build tunnels under infrastructure where civilians are, hospitals and the like, that you don't care about the civilian population. How do you respond to that?
Fine. I will not debate on that. But you know that Israel and America, they have the most sophisticated satellite facilities. Were they able to produce any satellites picture for those tunnels to the international community? No. These are continuous fabricated stories by Israeli enemy. Nothing is there. How come that those stores or whatever they are saying beneath those hospitals, and the very next moment the rockets of Hamas is launching towards the military bases in Tel Aviv and Ashkelon and Stud and the Israeli cities? These are all lies, and they are all pretext in order to furnish the societies who are anger and rages against them, their own society, because of their failure policies. So they are fabricating those stories. You know what? This whole entity of Israel was established based on 2 things: fabricated stories that they came to live over here, whereas in the land which has been promised for them, for the people which they don't have a land. Something very weird, and you never know what is the truth behind it. And
right.
The second thing is the massacres. You know, in 1948, it was 500 massacres. They erased 500 villages from the map. And today, they perpetrated in 27 days more than 880 massacres. You know, they wiped 880 families from the civilian record of the country. They are no more there. Father, mother, brothers, sisters, all. And this is also not even seen or sensed by the international community.
Dr. Qaddumi, a really important question is how much of the support from the Palestinian people does Hamas enjoy?
Well, what I have sensed from the field, I am being calling my families, my friends over there. They are all of them. You know, the thing which the Western countries and the Israelis are trying to understand, they fail to understand that we are fighting a just issue. We're defending ourselves. Everyone has to understand that our nation are steadfast. They have cherished the resistance. They voted for resistance. They have a confidence for the resistance. And that we witnessed by the whole opinion polls, by the democratic process in 2006. And today, if you go to the hospitals, if you go to the schools, if you go to the refugee camps, all of them, they are chanting against Israeli atrocities, and they are asking the resistance men, the fighters, to fight more and more against those apartheid regime to finish them.
Dr. Qaddumi, in the 15 years since, and you're talking about a 15-year moment, where you won those parliamentary elections, and then, of course, the Palestinian Authority was ousted, and Fatah as well to the West Bank. Since that moment, what quantifiable support have you had from the Palestinian people? Just for us to understand from the outside. I hear what you're saying, canvassing people, and you can hear different narratives, but is there an official record, just to share with us who don't understand perhaps some of the politics in your region, of what support you enjoy?
Well, if you wish, you can go to the opinion polls which has been conducted by a Shiqaqi Center, by the Arab Centers Research, by the Study Research Center in Ramallah, and you check the results of the popularity of Hamas since then, and that's very recent. Well, if you are, which shows that more than 70%, or will I say majority, they are supporting the Hamas and the resistance program. And also, when they were asked about the popular figures, it was always Ismail Haniyeh, the chief of Hamas, who is winning the majority of the votes. But if you are asking in particular about the incidents which has happened from 7th October till today, we don't have something to produce as out of research, because in a war. But yes, I referred to the statements of the common man in the media. You can go and check. And by the way, the dilemma is there, that the Israelis are not allowing the media people to get into Gaza and even to get into the settlements in order to reflect the facts and realities to the international community. The narrative is very important, and that has to be understood. You in South Africa, even the American people, they are in the streets in more than 50 big cities. They are chanting against the Israeli crimes, and they are in support of the Palestinian people.
I want to cover just a few important things before we will run out of time. How do you feel about, Israelis? We've heard the former Israeli ambassador to the UN call Palestinians horrible, inhuman animals. We have the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, saying we're fighting against human animals and we act accordingly. And one scholar has described this as a dehumanizing strategy to legitimate civilian deaths. How do you view those sentiments? Do you feel the same about Israelis?
Thank God I didn't need to bring some evidence. This is what I have keep reiterating, that Israelis are not considering us humans, and they do not recognize the right of us to live. Ibn Gfir, the Israeli security minister, has said it time and time, reiterating that the Palestinians have no right to live even. They have to be killed. They have to be burned. All Israeli diplomats, especially those in the United Nations and in United Nations organization, they are always, whenever they come to the meetings or a conference in the United Nations, they are equipped with two things. One, lies and fabricated photos, and you have witnessed many times they are bringing those photos with them. And the second thing, sorry to say, a dustbin. That dustbin will be put on the table, and he will rip all resolutions against Israel, and he will walk out. Why? Because he is very sure that no one will hold him accountable for anything. Today, since 7th of October, I will not talk before 7th of October. Today, from 7th of October till today, the whole international community organizations, including United Nations, unanimously, the majority of them are against the Israeli narrative. So nobody is ready to buy the garbage, what he ever is saying. He is not considering us human. So you can
All right.
imagine, how can we even proceed further to discuss or to have any debate with such diplomats, so-called diplomats?
Let's talk about the hostages. Dr. Qaddumi, what's the situation there? What we had heard was, the murder of 1,400 people, the taking of 242 people hostage. Few people have been released. One was rescued. You're asking for an all-for-all exchange, all Palestinians in jail. How do you see this playing out? What do you tell the families of those hostages tonight?
This is very important question. Actually, let me just correct some of the terminologies. Hostages are not 240. We have 240 plus prisoners. They were caught from the field while they were trying to kill our children. They are either military personnel or they are settlers. And this is very important to the audience to know. Settlers are illegal. Settlers are part of the occupation forces. Settlers are equipped with weapons. They are taking 2 years army training. Settlers is continuously killing our farmers in West Bank, do continuous incursions to the Holy Mosque, to Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the churches of Al-Quds with the guard of the Israeli army. So they are prisoners, hostages, or if you like, we call them guests. They are non-Israelis. They are civilians. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a good opportunity over here to remind the international community that they should not send their civilians, their citizens, to illegal entity like settlements. But
are you saying that they have? Are you saying that they have relinquished their normal rights? I mean, a prisoner would be somebody who would be charged for something and held under a particular clause.
I didn't come to that, but I'm trying to classify what we have. We have 240 prisoners, and we have more than this hostages who are not Israelis. Those who are not Israelis, they are safe in our responsibility to keep them. But unfortunately, Israeli bombardment killed around about 50 out of them in these couple of weeks. The prisoners, no, we deal them out of our own morals and values, which many of them, when they have been released, they told the international community many good stories about the good behavior of Hamas fighters with them. Yeah. They are kept in the best situation we can. We are under the siege.
Dr. Qaddumi, though, people would say, and I'm so sorry to interject because we are against the clock, and I want to just clarify this, is, they would say that they've not been subjected to fair process, that they've not been, prosecuted in a proper court of law, for example, and that this is an unfair situation that they've been caught up in. Do you not think that this is tarnishing what, some people might think this is a legitimate cause and legitimate argument that you're making, but you are compromising that by engaging in taking people against their will?
Whatever you have just mentioned beautifully, that is going for our own 7,000 prisoners behind the Israeli jail, which they are living there for decades. Many of them, 2,000 out of them, without trial. They don't know why they are kept over there. But for us, those 200 plus prisoners, we took them from the war zone. And that is very much rational and very much normal. I mean, I'm not able to understand what sort of just court you are talking about. They are fighters. We took them as prisoners. And of course, the prisoner of wars, the end of it should be swapped. That is something, not an invention by Hamas. This is something very rational. So what we will do, what we can say to the families of the Israeli soldiers and Israeli prisoners, that your government is refusing the swap. Your government is delaying the return of your children to you through impeding the swap process. This is a war. They were trying to kill us. On the other hand, our Palestinian fellows who are prisoners. They are our heroes. They've been kept in the Israeli jails. Some of them, they are sentenced to 360 years. Among them, there are children below 12 years old. There are ladies who are sentenced for tens of years without any end.
All right.
The only hope for them in the so-called Israeli courts is the swap. So this is what I am saying. We are not impeding any single moment. We are ready from yesterday to release the Israeli prisoners and let them go back home the time our prisoners will go to their mothers and fathers.
Are there not children
families.
amongst those, the 242 that you're describing as prisoners?
No children at all.
All right. Dr. Qaddumi, thank you very much for talking to us. And if I could just squeeze a tiny thing in, what next? You're not going to go to the negotiating table. This is where we are. What do you see as how this ends?
No, who said that? We are not a zero performer over here. We are looking for an independent Palestinian state. We are looking for a settled, stable situation. We are having ambition to live as free as any free nation in the world, but based on a fair conditions. Till the moment, those international laws and resolutions, they have produced what is called peace process between some Palestinians and the Israeli side. Yeah. Where Israel never recognized even the right of the Palestinian to exist. If you look into the literature, official literature is being produced by the Israeli government. We have never heard from them what is the official opinion of Israelis about what's so-called peace process. For us, we are looking to live as peace as any peaceful nation in the world, but not on the expense of our legitimate rights.
Dr. Qaddumi, thank you very much for talking to us tonight. We appreciate your time. Hamas spokesperson, Dr. Khaled Qaddumi. And we will get a response as well from the Israeli perspective.